Test mic 1 2 3. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. To bless our program tonight, let's recite the Ummul Kitab Al-Fatiha. اللهم لا علم اللهم علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا فيسر لنا أمورنا واختم لنا بالسعادة إنك على كل شيء قدير. Amin amin ya rabbal alamin. Dear all the students of CFS IUM Gambang, I, Umar Abdul Aziz, as the chairman of this program tonight, would like to thank all the students who are willing to participate our talk program tonight, which is Stop Your Addiction in Smoking and Vaping. And surprisingly, it will deliver by our special speaker, Prof. Dr. Muhammad Haniki bin Muhammad, a lecturer of pharmacy at IUM. Ladies and gentlemen, in a hadith narrated by Imam Tirmizi, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, which means, whoever goes out to seek knowledge is like those who fight in the way of Allah until they return to their homes, in order not to procrastinate. Now, the council invites Prof. Dr. Muhammad Haniki bin Muhammad, a lecturer of pharmacy at IUM, to deliver his talk. With all the respect, welcome.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala syafi'i anbiya'i wa mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Amma ba'd. Thank you to Brother Umar as the moderator, the committee from MRC Al-Biruni for the kind invitation for me to share with you on the topic of stop smoking and vaping. Tonight, inshallah, we'll get some benefits from this particular sharing session. So let me quickly share my presentation. I'll share my window, I guess. It's okay, tiny screen also can. Not allowing, so let me share a window. Oh, sorry. Window. Want to share with Google. Can you see the slide? I'm sharing this.
Can, Prof.
Can. Okay, Alhamdulillah. So I will be sharing with you on smoking and vaping, but I will start with sharing on the National Strategic Plan for Tobacco Control in Malaysia. Knowing this would help to explain how we can stop smoking and vaping on the national level, yeah, and can also translate that into the context of individual level. So part one is on the epidemiology and impact of tobacco use disorder. Number two is on tobacco control strategy and smoking cessation strategies. This is to help people to stop smoking, particularly conventional cigarettes, the white cigarettes that you see in the picture here, the most popular type of tobacco products in Malaysia and also around the world. How many smokers are there in Malaysia? Any guesses? Those who are listening in, do you have any, can you give me a number of how many adult smokers do you think there are in Malaysia based on the latest survey, national survey? I cannot hear. Are you, you can switch on your mic if you want to say something. No? No guesses?
I guess around 80%.
80%?
Yep.
Any, in terms of number? You can give percentage, you should give 80%. Okay. Okay, any other guesses? Whether in percentage or in number is acceptable? Any other guesses? Maybe you are Googling, is it? You are finding the number of adult smokers in Malaysia from Google. There are actually 4.7 million smokers. We consider that from the National Health Mobility Survey 2019, that's the latest survey that we have. This compares to 8 million deaths globally from tobacco use. And of course, Malaysia contributes to that number of 8 million deaths per year. We contribute about 20,000 Malaysians every year who died from smoking-related diseases. Yeah, and we know that it has been estimated that treating smoking-related diseases is costly. Yeah, it costs the government about 3 billion ringgit to treat only 3 diseases, which are considered the main diseases caused by tobacco smoking. The first one is lung cancer. The second one is cardiovascular disease called ischemic heart disease. And then the third one is a respiratory disease called COPD, or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. So the cost of treating only 3 diseases out of more than 20 diseases caused by smoking has already cost the government almost 3 billion ringgit. So do you think that this is, how do I say, a viable or a profitable kind of business that the government should support?
No.
No, right? Because from the tax revenue that we get from, we as in the government gets from taxation of cigarette, it is never enough to cover the cost of diseases for the cover the cost of diseases treated at Ministry of Health facilities, meaning that they are treated with money obtained from taxpayers. Yeah, so people who pay tax, then we help to support to treat smokers, whereas smokers, when they buy cigarettes, the tax from the cigarettes would never be enough to cover the diseases. Okay, and what more if the smokers actually buy what we call illicit cigarettes? Have you heard of this term, illicit cigarette or illegal cigarettes? Meaning that they escaped the taxation and therefore they didn't pay the tax for the cigarettes. So it's cheaper and there's no money going to be obtained by the government because they bought illicit cigarettes. Okay, so this issue of some smokers would say, "Hey, I'm contributing to the government's income. Yeah, I buy cigarettes, so government gets some money out of the tax on cigarettes." But the reality is the cost of smoking is so much more, as shown here from studies. Okay. So the highest impact or the burden of smoking is definitely on health. We will look at the diseases, as I mentioned just now, more than 20 diseases. What are those diseases? But I've already highlighted some of the main diseases. If you remember just now, cardiovascular, cancer, and respiratory. Okay. And what more with the recent issue of pandemic that we have COVID-19, which is also a respiratory type of disease, whereby the coronavirus, the SARS-CoV-2, would attack the body, and they use the virus actually come in through the respiratory system. Okay. So things actually become worse due to smoking, which then interacts with COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, we talk about diseases, of course, of treatment for diseases caused by smoking, but also remember, if the smoker dies prematurely, and we know that at least 20,000 Malaysians die prematurely every year. That will be life lost. We cannot put a cost on life, isn't it? We cannot say Mr. A life was 1 million, Mr. B 2 million, or something like that. However, we can calculate. For example, if someone is working in the sector, public or private, and if we average out their productivity, what they can contribute to the government in terms of personal tax and whatnot. So the government actually lost even more in terms of revenue from tax. Yeah, because when someone dies, of course they cannot pay tax anymore because they cannot work. But if they die prematurely, and this is related to smoking, smoking kills the chronic user. About 50% of them would die prematurely. Of course, you can argue that ajal maut, death, is actually in the realm or the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But it's like the analogy, if I may share, that that you're going to board specific planes from specific airlines, and you look at the track records. And if airline A has planes that crashes 20 times a year, versus airline B that crashes maybe 10 times a year, automatically the rational argument would be we should go with the safer airline. Okay, but smokers, they play with risk. They say, okay, my risk is low because I'm young, just like what you all are probably saying if you are smoking or vaping. You're saying you're still young, you're in early 20s or not even yet 20s. Are you 20? Maybe around that age, right? So you're saying that you're young and the diseases caused by smoking or vaping would only come 20, 30 years down the line. And you are confident that you can quit smoking or vaping earlier than that. The question is, can you really? That's what all smokers actually say. They start at around 13 to 15 years old. This is from the data from national surveys. In Malaysia, they start experimenting with cigarettes or smoking around the age of 7, as young as 7 years old. Okay, and then they would become smokers later on in their life, regular smokers. So it's like that. Once you try smoking and then you try some more, and eventually you say, okay, I will stop when I'm 20, 30, but it didn't happen, right? You still continue smoking, you still continue vaping, you still continue being addicted to the tobacco products, okay? And why is that? Why do you think people continue to use such products when they know the products are dangerous, harmful to health? Can anybody share their thoughts? Anyone?
Maybe have a lung disease.
Sorry, tak apa faham, brother. You mean my question was, kenapa people still continue to smoke despite knowing that the product, i.e., the cigarettes, are dangerous? So, what was your answer? You can explain in Malay, no
Maybe
problem.
because of addictions and some of bahan tu ada yang ketagih.
Yes,
Is it?
yes, very good. The main reason is because they are addicted. Yeah, ada bahan inside the tobacco products, particularly cigarettes, that would cause addiction or dependence. This product is called nicotine. We'll look at that in a moment. So, good. You understand that when people use the substance from the cigarettes, particularly nicotine, they will become addicted to nicotine. And the way that cigarettes is manufactured is essentially a product that is manufactured or from the industry, the tobacco industry, sold by the tobacco industry for the purpose of giving nicotine to the users. Why is nicotine addictive? Well, it's like asking why does water quench your thirst? So this is alami, this is mula jadi, this is the sifat, this is the characteristics of nicotine. Nicotine is a psychoactive substance, and when it's delivered in a rapid fashion and in high concentration, it starts the process of addiction and dependence, and later the development of tobacco use disorder. Okay, so to become hooked on nicotine, the product must deliver nicotine in a rapid fashion. Okay, and then in high concentration. So we know tobacco products can do this. Even the new tobacco product as listed here, the emergence of smoking products such as e-cigarettes or vapes, heated tobacco products, and so on and so forth, are actually alarming, okay? And it has been estimated about 1 million Malaysians are currently using e-cigarettes. On top of regular cigarettes, we also have another problem of e-cigarettes. And the burden of smoking, not only among adults, but among teenagers. The issue is, I've mentioned to you just now, smoking kills. And half of the regular or chronic smokers die prematurely. So if you are in the business of selling cigarettes and the products actually kill half of your users, you need to have replacement, isn't it? You need to replace those people who died. So who should they target? They would target the children, the teenagers, because they want you, the teenagers, or the young people to be hooked on nicotine as early as possible. It doesn't matter if you're hooked on nicotine from cigarettes, from electronic cigarettes, or any tobacco product, shisha, roll your own, you name it. As long as you are hooked on nicotine, they are happy because they are in the tobacco industry, actually in the business of selling nicotine. Okay, so the burden of smoking among teenagers. The slides, is it changing?
Not yet.
Oh, what's the slide showing now?
National Strategic Plan for Tobacco Control in Malaysia, page 1.
Oh, I see. Okay, let me check. Thank you. Thank you for alerting that. Let's see this. Okay, let me try again. Okay, you can see this one, right? Is it changing now?
Yes.
Okay. So this slide, about 4.7 million smokers in Malaysia, you can see.
Yes.
Okay, good. So just to recap, I mentioned that the National Health Mobility Survey in 2019 found about 5 million smokers and 20,000 smokers die every year. And the cost of treating 3 major diseases from smoking is about 3 billion. And therefore, it has the impact on health, economy, because loss of productivity, that's around 300 billion productivity loss, yeah? Okay, due to smoking. And then the new products, I mentioned that we have about 1 million current e-cigarette users in Malaysia. And therefore, the tobacco industry targets teenagers, young people. They want people to start smoking as young as possible, yeah, to replace the older smokers who died prematurely, the 20,000. So just now I asked how many smokers are there in Malaysia. So the number is about 5 million. The percentage is in the middle one, 21.3%. Okay, 21.3%. You think that is high or low?
High.
High, exactly. And you can see that the prevalence has not changed much over 30 years, over maybe 10 years or more. And actually, there are earlier data than this. And it has been always more than 20% prevalence of smoking among adults in Malaysia, especially. So this is bad because it means that although percentage has gone down a bit in terms of numbers, because of population expansion, we do not really have reduced the number of smokers significantly, yeah, over many years in Malaysia. Our prevalence of smoking among men is still high, yeah, it's 40% in 2019, 43% 2015, around 44% in 2011. It was even higher from the earlier surveys. You can say, yeah, slight reduction, but the slight reduction, you need to take into context of population expansion. Now, Alhamdulillah, the reported, yeah, this is reported, prevalence of smoking among women is low, very low, less than 2%. Maybe there's a protective factor, particularly from the social, religion, maybe other aspects of our culture, yeah, that would not accept women to be smoking publicly or women to openly admit they are smokers. But for men, it's not really a taboo. Yeah, it's not really something that people would say this is abnormal. But do remember that smoking was not normal way back when, long time ago. It became normalized by the tobacco industry when they started their operation, yeah, in Malaysia and other countries. So they start selling their products, and then they try to assimilate or include their products into the lifestyle of the country that they have started their business in. So they make cigarettes, for example, as gifts during wedding to people coming, or they use cigarettes to create certain false lifestyle through advertising. Yeah, so they try to normalize smoking. So how are we going to counter this? Meaning that we have to denormalize smoking, so that certain generations would not be even to the context, to the extent of knowing what cigarettes are. They have never seen it. So this is the idea behind the recent announcement by the Honorable Minister of Health when he wanted to have this generational end game for those born 2005 onwards. Yeah, meaning that if you're 17 this year, if the generational endgame, or GEG for short, is approved by the members of the parliament, by the cabinet, presumably that would be next month when it's tabled together with the Tobacco Control Act. If the Tobacco Control Act is supported and approved, then the generational end game would then follow in terms of its implementation. What this means is that those born 2005 and above would not be able to smoke, definitely, also to possess, to buy or to sell tobacco products, any tobacco products. Yeah. So we want to create a generation where smoking is abnormal, whether it's cigarettes, whether it's electronic cigarette, tobacco product, and so on and so forth. Yeah, we know that smoking is higher among those with lower status of social, education, and economy. Why do you think that is so? The less money you have, the more you smoke. Any ideas? Oops, sorry. Did it go away? Can you confirm? You can still see the screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So anybody wants to try answer the question just now? Majority of smokers are in the B40 group. The less money you have, the more cigarettes you smoke. Why is that?
Maybe because of the heavy stress that they have been pressured because of their daily life, and they think that smoking is one of the way that release their tension.
Yes. Okay. Good. That could be one of the reasons. They use cigarettes as an outlet to release stress and tension of life. Yeah. Any other reasons? It could also be maybe related to awareness, also education level that is also related to that. So they do not know much about dangers of smoking or harmful effect of tobacco, or they're still not aware of the association between smoking and certain diseases. Okay, but you're right. Majority of smokers, they smoke due to stress, and when they smoke, they feel that smoking actually help to release their stress, tension, and other effects as well. So we talk about adult smoking and youth smoking. Basically, in terms of numbers, you can see that overall prevalence of smoking has been going down. Okay. However, do take into consideration the expansion of the population again. Um, but this is also, we can consider it as a good trend, the progressively reducing trend among male especially. But the worrying trend is that we have seen prevalence of smoking among girls, which is higher than that of the women national average. If you remember just now, for the adult adult women in Malaysia, it's less than 3%. But for girls, young girls, aged 13 to 15, the latest survey, the Adolescent Health Survey 2017, found 5.7%. So this is worrying. Yeah, we have seen slight reduction from 2009, 2016, but it has picked back up in 2017. So another survey will be done soon, and we hope that the numbers will go back down. Okay, these are some numbers that we got from Kesihatan Oral Tanpa Asap Rokok Kotak program that is conducted especially under the dental health group. Okay, so from that survey, we know that the pattern of current cigarette use among those 13 to 17 in Malaysia, around 22% among boys and 5% among girls, overall is about 1 in 10 of our youth smokes. Is that alarming? Is that scary? Definitely, yeah, because they would be the replacement smokers that the industry, the tobacco industries, the vaping industry really want. Okay, and they are using, as I mentioned just now, whatever means, whatever tools to get the nicotine to the young people, okay, so that they would start be hooked or addicted to nicotine, and they will be using such products, whether it's cigarettes, whether it's electronic cigarettes, they don't care. If they have previously 600,000. This is a study that I conducted as the principal investigator. We found the first study in Malaysia looking at numbers of e-cigarette users, firstly among adults, and then another group conducted a study same year among adolescents. So our study found that at the time, 2016, there were 3.2% or estimated about 600,000 current e-cigarette users. Do you remember the number of e-cigarette users from the 2019 survey? At least 1 million. So it has almost double, isn't it? Okay, so it is indeed alarming that there are so many e-cigarette users or vapors nowadays in Malaysia. There's also another concern, what we call dual users, meaning that they smoke cigarettes and they vape. So this so they are getting like a double whammy, harmful effects of tobacco, smoking from cigarettes, and also from e-cigarettes. Of course, you can argue or put into perspective those who use e-cigarettes to supposedly reduce their smoking. Or the term that you may have heard is called harm reduction. So e-cigarette is used to reduce harm from cigarettes, towards quitting cigarettes. Yeah, and we'll discuss that later. But suffice for me to say now that we don't have enough data to support this, that e-cigarette is the best way to reduce harms from combustible or conventional cigarettes. Okay? Despite the fact that we don't know the long-term effect of e-cigarettes, many of our boys and girls started to try electronic cigarettes. And another study done by colleagues in UKM found that majority of their subjects of students in schools, 6 schools in Klang Valley area, secondary schools, majority of them were using or smoking e-cigarettes, yeah? Meaning that they were vaping more than the regular cigarettes. So they perceived that vaping is less harmful. Why? Because the e-cigarette industry, some of them are actually tobacco industry, because tobacco industry either sell their own brand, sell their own brand of e-cigarettes, or they bought over e-cigarette companies, so that meaning that they would still reap the profits of selling any tobacco products or nicotine-based products. Okay, can you see or not? It's essentially the same culprit, whether e-cigarettes or tobacco industry. In certain circumstances, they are from the same sources. We talk about nicotine, so let's get to know where nicotine comes from. Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala created such plants, and one of the plants is called Nicotine Tabacum. So from this plant, you can mostly get nicotine. Yeah. So this is alami. This is naturally occurring. So from this plant, you can extract, or you can dry the leaves and then dice it up. Yeah. As they do in the manufacturing facilities, and then they add chemicals to it, or chemicals already in the leaves, or during the processing, like the curing, when they dry the leaves, okay, to concentrate the chemicals, especially the nicotine in the leaves, and then they use the leaves, right? They use the leaves to make cigarettes, cheroots, and roll your own whatever products. Yeah. Now, e-cigarettes, on the other hand, they extract out the nicotine from the leaves. So they take out the nicotine, or they can also synthesize nicotine, synthetic nicotine in the labs. Okay, and then they add into the electronic devices, and with carriers, yeah, being the e-liquids. So we look at that afterwards. So nicotine, as I mentioned, in combustible tobacco, in heated tobacco products, including e-cigarettes, or being loose tobaccos that you can chew or you can put into your mouth. Like some people long time ago, yeah, they like to chew tobacco, centale, they call it, right? So that happened a long time ago, as I remember my grandma did that. And they read or they can feel the effect of nicotine from whatever products, because essentially these products are sold with the intention of delivering nicotine to the body, to the person using it. And can I get a bit technical or scientific at this moment? My audience are scientific background or not? Are you health students?
No, I'm art student.
Art students. Okay, so I will simplify the effects of nicotine in this manner. Once nicotine is inhaled, taken in, so it will go into the lungs and into the bloodstream from the lungs. Okay, and once it enters the bloodstream, it can go anywhere. But the main interaction is between nicotine and receptors in the brain. Yeah, I hope you understand what I meant with receptors. Receptors basically like part of the body that will interact with certain substances. So the nicotine will interact with these receptors, and it would cause at the end release of chemicals. We call them chemicals or neurotransmitters to be more specific. And these neurotransmitters include dopamine. Have you heard of dopamine?
Yes, hormone that stimulate our happiness.
Exactly, great. So this is it gives rise to pleasure. So that's why smokers, when they take a puff or two puffs, so they almost instantaneously can feel the happiness, quote unquote, or the pleasure, right? This is because of the effect of nicotine. And there are other effects such as improving the mood, improving concentration, reducing anxiety, stress, and tension, um, and improving memories, short term, and whatnot. So that's why so many people they use nicotine from tobacco products, whether cigarettes or electronic cigarettes and whatnot, and so that they say, oh, okay, just now we mentioned that smoking helps to reduce stress. So they use that. Or they said smoking to feel good. Yeah. Or smoking gives me pleasure. Okay, makes me happy. So they then rely on nicotine stimulation and release of the neurotransmitters to have these effects. For non-smokers, can you actually have or have you experienced happiness, pleasure? Yes,
Of course.
of course. Do we depend on nicotine to have this? No, we don't depend on nicotine to evoke these effects. Yeah, when you do your prayers, when you have a good meal, when you drink your favorite tea or coffee or whatever. So when you see your loved ones or to play with your pets or whatnot. So whatever it is. So the thing that differentiate non-smokers with smokers is that smokers, they want it fast, definitely. They want it instantaneous. They also want to elevate or heighten whatever pleasurable effects from their actions. For example, if they say, "Oh, this is green tea. I like green tea, so I take a sip. Oh, it's very nice." So they want to increase the niceness or the happiness that they feel from doing something that they like. What do? They add on the nicotine effect. Okay, so then they double or triple their pleasure. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Yes. So that's why when you see smokers and their habit or their actions, you can see them coupling. They attach smoking to certain activities. You realize or not? So they would be smoking maybe after meals or during meals, during drinking, after drinking, during is there such word as lepaking? Oh yeah, when they socialize, they're happy, so they want to be happier. Okay, so they add on cigarettes. So this is then embedded into their daily routine. For example, they wake up, then they have a coffee or breakfast, so they smoke. They see some, they see they do something that they like, they smoke. Okay, after meals, they smoke. So that is ingrained and becomes habitual. So that's why people sometimes say smoking habit because the person is doing it for someone who smokes 20 cigarettes a day, at least 20 times a day. Yeah, imagine doing something 20 times a day over how many years. So that's why it becomes part of the identity of the person. It is ingrained, it is habitual. And then when we want to get someone to quit smoking, we have to address not only the physical dependency to nicotine, but also the behavior component, the psychological, the habitual part. So it makes addiction, tobacco addiction, a two-part problem. Yeah, physical and also psychological. Yeah, some people, they smoke in order to go to the toilet. Have you heard of this? They say if I smoke, then I can have a bowel opening. I can go to the toilet to do my business easier. If I don't smoke, I feel a little bit constipated, a bit difficult for me to pass motion. Have you heard of this?
Yes, I heard about it from my friends.
Do you think that is physical or psychological?
I think that's a psychological effect.
Okay, most people assume it's psychological. However, um, from the scientific point of view, it is also physical. Why? Because nicotine, as I mentioned, once it's absorbed, it goes into the blood circulation system. It goes all over the body, but the main target site is the receptors in the brain. However, our body, there are also receptors that are stimulated by nicotine in other parts of the body, including our gastrointestinal tract, i.e. the intestines, yeah? Okay, the bowels. So once nicotine interacts with these receptors, it will cause what we call it scientifically peristaltic movement. So it will cause that motion of squeezing the bowel, the intestines, so that you feel, oh, okay, it's time to go, right? Something like that. So when they smoke, it will facilitate this. However, we know that non-smokers are not having chronic constipation problem, right? Because we don't depend on nicotine to stimulate our bowel movement. The thing is that when people use that as a reason, so they would make their bowel dependent on nicotine stimulation in order to um, have that stimulation. So if no stimulation, they find it difficult to pass motion or go to the toilet. Okay, so for us who are non-smokers, uh, we are not chronic. We don't have chronic constipation because we don't necessarily rely on nicotine. So this is some of the issues that you need to understand. As you say just now, when you say some of your friends reported to you, oh, I need to smoke because I want to go to the toilet. So you need to understand, and then when they want to stop smoking, they have to anticipate this reverse effect, or we call them withdrawal effects. Yeah, the terbalikkan. If they smoke, they can go to the bathroom. But if they don't smoke, they're going to be constipated. So what you need to understand is that how to solve this problem. Yeah, it's not just in the mind because it's not just psychological. Some of the effects are mostly physical. Like I said just now, if they take a cigarette, they finish the cigarette, they feel happy. If they stress, it releases their stress. But do remember that all these effects are short-lived. Why is it short-lived? Because the action of nicotine is short. Yeah. Um, for us in health, we use this term half-life. The half-life of drugs or chemicals or medicine. So we say the half-life basically means how much time is taken to reduce the concentration of a substance to 50%. So to bring it half from the original amount. Yeah, I hope you can understand that. So half-life of nicotine is only about 1 to 2 hours. So relatively short. After that, if you don't top up, then you're going to suffer in terms of the withdrawal effects. Yeah. So that makes it difficult for people to quit. In fact, it has been shown by studies that it is the main roadblocks to successful quitting. If people, smokers or vapers, cannot cope with the withdrawal effects, then they would continue the vicious cycle of smoking or vaping until they quit or die, whichever comes first. Yeah. So this is the reality of nicotine addiction. Yeah. Plus, you have all this external or environmental stimuli. If you go to any shops, what do you see behind the cashier's counter?
Smoking rak isap rokok.
Yeah, cigarettes, right? Cigarettes being displayed. They sell cigarettes. They put it in the cabinet, their display cabinet, just behind the cashiers. Okay, in most places, that's what you'll see. So that is a form of advertising by the tobacco industry. It is not yet banned in Malaysia, but that kind of display has been banned in other countries, for example, in Thailand. So you cannot openly display cigarette packs for sale. It has to be under the counter or covered like display cabinets. Okay, so you cannot see. So you just say, I want a pack of so and so brand. So that's what you get. The seller will take it from under the counter or whatever and sell it to you. It's like in Malaysia, we're still allowing that. So one of the ways that we can consider is that to reduce external or environmental stimuli, including places where you can see cigarette packs. So we need to demand and push for this, okay? Because if the government is not doing it, meaning that the government is not doing its best to protect the health of the citizen from tobacco product advertising, promotion, and sponsorship. Okay, and we know that this is needed because I will share with you evidence regarding strategies on tobacco control from the WHO, the World Health Organization, Framework Convention on Tobacco Control. Okay. Of the tobacco products, of course, cigarettes, conventional cigarettes are the main product advertised, sold, used, consumed by Malaysians especially, and people in other countries as well. That's the main reason, the main products that tobacco industry are selling. But nowadays, recently, well, not so recent, if you consider e-cigarettes came to our shore around, what, 2013, 14, like that. Okay, that's why we were commissioned to do the national survey in 2016. And then you also have the heated tobacco products coming in. Water pipe or shisha, I guess they came in with the culture of the Middle Eastern, particularly rolled cigarettes or BDs, particularly from the Indian continent. Okay, cigars, probably from Central America, or other parts of the Caribbean part, where they smoke cigars. So there are many tobacco products in the market, but okay, snus, as you can see, tobacco in pouches. They will put it, for example, under the lips, and then just leave it there. Chewing tobacco, for example, some sports, like if you have seen baseball, they will be chewing this. Okay. The prices still relatively cheap in Malaysia compared to our neighboring countries like Singapore, where the price can be double or triple. Okay, so I'm going to spend a bit more time on the impact of smoking for health. I mentioned about more than 20 diseases, yeah, related to smoking. Can you see this slide? Okay, good. It means that you're non-smokers and your eyesight still good. Because the smoking can affect the eyes, can cause cataracts and blindness. Okay. Other than that, it can of course cause watery eyes, even dry eyes, so on and so forth. Okay. So as you know, cataract, you have to treat, for example, by operation. If blindness, unfortunately, that will be the end of that, unless eye transplant or something like that. On the brain, okay, we talk about being addicted, ketagihan, and having the withdrawal, kegelisahan, the anxiety, angin ahmad or stroke, okay. Smoking, as I mentioned just now, the product mainly cigarettes to deliver nicotine. But in order to deliver nicotine effectively in such efficiency to reach the brain, the target site within 10 seconds, I also mentioned the chemicals that are considered natural in tobacco leaves, tobacco plant, and also chemicals added, and chemicals also formed during the burning process of cigarettes. So these chemicals, for example, from burning of organic compounds, would cause release of carbon monoxide. Have you heard of carbon monoxide? What's the effect of carbon monoxide? In Malay, is carbon monoxide. Anybody? I know you're art students, but I'm sure you have heard about carbon monoxide. Have you heard of people dying from carbon monoxide poisoning, for example, from sleeping in their car overnight, or intentional suicide by, you know, getting the hose from the exhaust and then into the car, and then they tape the windows shut so that the exhaust fumes, you know, will kill them. Have you heard of that? There were cases of accidental death from carbon monoxide poisoning due to faulty engines that leaked carbon monoxide into the air conditioning system. So the issue is that carbon monoxide is a poisonous gas, simply speaking, and it takes over oxygen from being carried by red blood cells. So imagine, in order to live, in order our cells to function, we need oxygen, right? But when carbon monoxide is around, the red blood cell would carry carbon monoxide instead of oxygen, because carbon monoxide has a higher affinity to the red blood cells compared to oxygen. So the red blood cells then would carry this poisonous gas and to deliver to the cells. Is it useful to the cells? No. Is it harmful? Yes. So it will result in cell death if the cell is deprived of oxygen. Enough deprivation can cause cell death. And organs that are sensitive to oxygen, such as the brain, the heart, what else? The kidneys, and I mean every organ, every cells and organs sensitive to oxygen deprivation, but these organs are even more. So that would increase the risk of cell death. If the cell die, enough cells die in the brain, yeah, or it can also cause, for example, blockages. Okay, there with so many chemicals in tobacco smoke, it can be 4,000 to 7,000 harmful chemicals, and some of these chemicals are known to cause inflammation and the process of atherosclerosis, meaning that it will cause clogging of blood vessels, okay, inflammation and clogging of blood vessels, and some of the plaques or the clots can chip off and travel from the blood vessels, for example, from blood vessels from the heart. It can travel to the brain, and if the blood vessel then clogs, the blood vessels in the brain are clogged, yeah, tersumbat, then there will be no blood supply to the cells. So being oxygen sensitive and being blood deprivation sensitive, our smokers are at high risk of stroke or angin ahmad from various mechanisms. Okay, we probably more accustomed to the appearance, the external effects of smoking that you can smell or you can see, that you can smell their hair, you can smell their clothing, you can smell their bad breath, you can see the yellow staining or whatever. Okay, but there are things that are happening inside the body due to harmful chemicals from tobacco smoke. Okay, so this process can be cardiovascular, can be cerebrovascular in the case of stroke. It can be also carcinogenic in cause from mutation of cells. Okay, um, I mentioned 4,000 to 7,000 harmful chemicals in tobacco smoke, and it has been identified that at least 50 to 70, 50 hingga 70 from the thousands of chemicals have been identified as cancer-causing chemicals. Yeah, they can cause cancer. Yeah, and so the cancer, because lungs are the main organs exposed to the tobacco smoke, the insult, the harmful effects are mostly suffered by the lungs. So 70 to 70% of lung cancer occur in smokers. Having said that, that's why maybe you have heard or people use the argument, oh, so and so person I know has been smoking for many, many years, but didn't get lung cancer. Okay, so what's the reason? Well, they of course, again, this is from the will of Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. If you're not going to get disease, you're not going to get it. But they also may fall into the 30%, yeah, of those people who do not get lung cancer, or if they get lung cancer, unfortunately, it's not due to smoking. They may not even be second-hand smoker, i.e. they are not exposed to other people's tobacco smoke, but they can get lung cancer from other mechanism or other sources, because cancers can be caused by multifactorial reasons. But if you have 70% of lung cancer cases due to smoking, you know this is very high risk, right? And talking about cancer, do note that cancer, although lungs are the main organs exposed, yeah, due to the nature of smoking and vaping, do remember that once cancer has developed, okay, it may not stay at one site. It can spread, yeah, for example, through the lymphatic system. So it can travel to other organs. So when a smoker, for example, yeah, the smoker may not die of lung cancer, but he died of blood cancer, or he died of bladder cancer, pundi kencing, or he died of prostate cancer. Nose cancer, you can get it. Oh, okay, so it's not necessarily the cancer is confined to one organ. It can travel to any part of the body. Yeah, so this is one of the established cause of death, yeah, particularly among smokers. Other than cardiovascular, there's also all types of cancers. Okay, it can also affect hearing. Of course, we talked about just now diseases of number 8, yeah, of the lungs, and cardio related problems. I mentioned earlier on ischemic heart disease. Yeah, I talked about atherosclerosis, the clogging of the blood vessels, and of course, it can cause other types of cancers, from esophagus to stomach cancer, colon cancer, pancreatic cancer, and abdominal aortic aneurysm, okay, even liver cancer. And of course, for you all, number 12, very important. You don't have any children yet, and you want to be fathers and mothers. Any sisters listening, I don't know. But for reproductive men and women, you have to make sure you are non-smokers in order to give rise to offsprings who are of quality and healthy. We talk about infertility, hilang kesuburan. Yeah, you would damage your sperm for the male. Yeah, not only that, your sperm count would also be lower than non-smokers. Not only the quality, the number also less. So reduce a chance of getting offspring. Yeah. Of course, infertility, erectile dysfunction, mati pucuk is one of the reproductive effect of smoking. And prostate cancer, I mentioned already. Erectile dysfunction or mati pucuk can also be due to vasoconstriction because that's the effect of nicotine, and also lack of oxygen due to carbon monoxide from tobacco smoke, as I mentioned also. Okay. For women, yeah, you don't want your zawjah, your future wife or mother to your children to be a smoker. Similarly, sisters, do not choose her as your future husband because of, yeah, mentioned already. And for the women, they can increase risk of cervical cancer, ovarian cancer, premature ovarian failure, early menopause, infertility, and also loss of fertility. Okay, can also affect the urinary system from the cancer, and then from cancer of the bladder, the kidneys, and the urethra. In the hands, you can have peripheral vascular disease, meaning that because I mentioned about vasoconstriction, the penyempitan salur darah effect of nicotine, lack of oxygen can also cause many other types of diseases, including peripheral vascular diseases, and peredaran darah terganggu. Skin condition, psoriasis. Okay, loss of skin elasticity, especially for the ladies, and now men also. You want to look good. You don't want to have to look old than your actual age. Wrinkling, yeah, aging, or muka kelabu asap, because your face, your skin, the blood supply is not getting enough oxygen. Yeah, so for the same reasons mentioned just now, carbon monoxide, vasoconstriction. So the effect is that your skin is not going to be glowing. There's also increased risk of osteoporosis, kereputan tulang, disease called rheumatoid arthritis, cancer of your bone marrow. Oh, this is horrible. Okay, and low back pain. If you, number 18, wound healing is slowed, yeah, or delayed. And of course, there could be also an accidental cause of injuries due to the burning cigarette. For the feet, you can still have peripheral vascular disease, yeah, and gangrene. Gangrene is where the cell dies, affecting the surrounding areas, necrosis, and therefore bacteria can grow, microorganism can grow and cause infection that would necessitate, of course, antibiotics or even to the point of amputation. Deep vein thrombosis, because the effect on the blood vessels, there could also be thrombosis or penyumbatan, yeah, blockages. So it's painful and also give rise to other types of problems. Okay. Similarly, inflammation of the artery, veins, and also nerves can cause Burgess disease, and also type of blood cancer, acute myeloid leukemia. Immunity with 5,000 and 7,000 chemicals definitely going to suppress your immune system and increases risk to infectious disease, be it viral, bacterial, so on and so forth. Okay. Others, number 22, diabetes. Smoking increases risk of diabetes. How is that? Any ideas? Have you heard of this before?
Yes.
Oh, you have. Then you know. How does smoking increases risk of diabetes?
Maybe after they smoking, they feel thirsty, and then they need some sweet water.
Okay. So they drink something sweet or they crave something sweet. Okay, so that could be a possibility. Another possibility is that, remember I mentioned the thousands of chemicals, harmful chemicals in tobacco smoke. They can actually damage any parts, any organs. So including the we call the factory, the pancreas, yeah, that produces insulin. As you know, insulin regulates the glucose level in the body, particularly the blood. So if there's inadequate supply of insulin due to effects of these chemicals on the pancreas, particularly the islet of Langerhans, where insulin is produced, so the control of blood sugar is going to be haywired. Yeah. So it increases the risk of diabetes and complications from diabetes. Yeah. Sudden death. Okay. You have heard about athletes dying suddenly. They seem apparently healthy, but they drop like flies. So especially if they are smokers, this can also be contributed to the effect of sudden death, can be also related to cardiovascular effect. Okay. Other than that, we talk about risk of infections. It can be inflammation or gum disease, or having problems with the teeth. Yeah, we talk about um, respiratory related diseases, even tuberculosis, pneumonia, and other types. Okay, so don't rule out COVID-19. I will get to that shortly, if time permits. Okay. Okay, my session is until 10 p.m. inshallah. So I mentioned about nicotine is the culprit from tobacco plant that is manipulated by the tobacco industry and now also the vaping industry to cause dependence. Yeah, addiction specialists like Hanningfield and Benowitz, they have rated nicotine potential to cause dependence higher than that compared to heroin or cocaine. Yeah, so it is alarming that nicotine can cause this sort of dependence. But because intoxication or overdose of nicotine from cigarette smoking is low, its overall addiction potential is lower than that for heroin or cocaine. Yeah, but looking at this comparison, please don't think that you should switch from nicotine to cannabis. No, smoking anything is harmful. Smoking cannabis also harmful. You know, this one is associated with increased risk of psychosis. Not only dependence, but also can cause psychosis. So, but nicotine is quote unquote legal. Cannabis, illegal. So, this is clear no. Caffeine, legal. Alcohol, legal. But of course, we know it's haram, or smoking also haram. Fatwa Majlis Kebangsaan 1995, okay, already ruled that smoking is haram. E-cigarette in if I'm not mistaken, 2015, okay, that is already fatwa is haram. Alcohol, because it's very clear in the Quran, is haram, no problem. Illicit drug, okay, can, by default, anything this harmful should be haram, right? Okay, no brainer about that. Okay, so to be about e-cigarettes, actually it brought into Malaysia, originated from China or Taiwan, something like that, patented by a pharmacist, to be exact. His idea was to use e-cigarette to treat his father's smoking dependence, yeah, to get his father to stop smoking. But his father died of lung cancer before he can stop, so cannot use the e-cigarette. So he initiated this e-cigarettes, so that it then evolved to second generation, okay, like tanks and mods, okay, and now pods. Most of the students nowadays are smoking pots, okay, even in CFS. True or not? Have you seen your friends vaping?
50-50?
50-50. You mean 50 pots and 50 smoking cigarettes?
Yes.
Okay. So because pots, they look like thumb drives, right? People not necessarily knowing, oh, this is actually a vaping device. They may think, I don't know, it looks like a gadget, okay, a thumb drive or something that you use for studying. But in fact, it is electronic cigarettes. Any people using heated tobacco products? Not so many. Yeah, they has not picked up. Yeah, people don't really see this for whatever reasons in Malaysia. But both products, as I mentioned, are claimed to be harm reduction products. Okay, they say, oh, replace smoking with vaping. It's safer for you. It's less harmful. To a certain extent, if you compare a number of chemicals, sure, there are less number of chemicals in e-cigarettes compared to cigarettes. I mentioned 5 to 7,000. But latest study that was released last year found up to 2,000 chemicals in electronic cigarettes. So it's not tens, it's not hundreds, it's actually still in thousands. Okay, and because it's a relatively new phenomenon, okay, compared to cigarettes, which has been around for ages, so we still do not know the long-term harmful effects, right? We know some of the immediate effects, okay, of the product. In terms of regulation, e-cigarettes have no regulations per se other than based on the nicotine, because nicotine is controlled under Poisons Act 1952, meaning that it can only be sold by licensed health professionals. So all the vape shops are illegal because they're selling nicotine products. We know they say, oh, we're selling e-cigarettes without nicotine. Is that true? They also admitted almost all of their products contain nicotine. Because if they sell liquids for e-cigarettes without nicotine, where is the pleasure? There's no nicotine to cause the effects. So it's purely psychological. You inhale e-cigarettes, perisa durian, perisa jambu, perisa air bandung, perisa lychee, and then you get the pleasure. Yeah, but maybe for a short time, you can trick your brain, but the brain will tell you there's no nicotine, there's no kick, there's no pleasure, there's no happiness. So that's why majority of the e-liquids are adulterated or purposely added illegally with nicotine, and they have various concentration, as you know. So by right, it's wrong. Yeah, it's wrong because only doctors, pharmacists, dentists, and veterinarians can sell products containing nicotine under the Poisons Act. These are the licensed people to sell nicotine. Okay, so if you get it from a vape shop, it's illegal. Okay, the act of selling is illegal. The act of buying is also illegal. The heated tobacco product has been allowed by the government and regulated under control of tobacco product regulations under electronic device with a code. Okay, e-cigarettes is in limbo. Yeah, I have been in the national level technical committee for e-cigarettes and shisha. So we have advised so many health ministers before, I think 2 or 3 health ministers, on our stand based on evidence regarding e-cigarettes. Our stand was to ban. We always tell the minister based on evidence, there are more harmful effects than potential benefits. So we don't want the headache. We don't want the hassle of having to counter the effect of tobacco products like cigarettes and now e-cigarettes. So we say, let's do what our neighboring countries are doing. Both Thailand, up north, Singapore down south, and apa lagi, Brunei on the other side, they all have banned e-cigarettes. Why are we allowing? Well, we are not allowing. We sort of dragging our feet, yeah, dilly-dally, saying that we want to regulate, but until now, from 2013-14 until now, there's no regulation. The regulation is drafted and is included under this new Tobacco Act. It was supposed to be tabled in the Parliament in March, but it was delayed because it was stuck at the Attorney General Chamber. So it was not tabled in March, and the next sitting for the Parliament is in July, next month. So it's planned to be tabled again. Not to be tabled again, to be tabled for the first time in July, next month. So if that doesn't happen, it means that it will forever go on and on and on without any regulation. Okay, that's the sad truth about e-cigarette regulation in our country. So let me share with you on e-cigarettes now for my closing. Yeah, we know about cigarettes, and now we get to know a bit more about e-cigarettes. We know that nicotine is the main addictive substance. So e-cigarette essentially just a substitute for e-cigarette delivery from smoke type to vapor type. And the production of vapor relies heavily on PGVG, vegetable glycerin and propylene glycol. So they're saying these are natural products, these are vegetable oils, so they are safe to be consumed. Yes, oil is safe to be consumed, especially if you, for example, drink it or eat it, that it goes through the gastrointestinal tract. From your mouth, it passes on to your stomach. Yeah. Similarly with flavoring agents, you can have vanilla, you can have pandan, you can have mango. Yeah, or like you make delicacies, you make drinks. These are flavored. Yeah. So it's fine for eating and drinking. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not create your lungs to inhale flavors or coloring agents or oils, vegetable oil. Can you imagine inhaling oils? What on earth for? Yeah, doesn't make sense. But these are the vehicles where on heating, they would vaporize, they would be aerosolized, and then they will produce the amount of vapor seen through vaping. Yeah. So the main intention is to again deliver nicotine. So on that sense, it doesn't make much difference to conventional cigarettes. One is burning, one is heating of liquid. Function still to deliver nicotine, isn't it? Okay. So if you get enough nicotine from e-cigarettes, some of the smokers would switch to e-cigarette. So e-cigarette companies will say, look, we found that majority of smokers can quit cigarettes when they use e-cigarettes compared to using approved medications for smoking cessation or using counseling or behavior intervention. So let's allow e-cigarettes to be used as smoking cessation agents. Okay. However, this has not happened in Malaysia. No e-cigarettes products to date are approved for smoking cessation purposes. Okay. Why? Because VGPG, as mentioned, are not harmless chemicals. Yeah. They can cause respiratory tract irritation, they can cause eye throat irritation, and when it's heated, they can also produce formaldehyde. Formaldehyde is already a carcinogen, yeah, i.e. a cancer-causing agent. So what's the point? Yeah, it's less harmful but not harmless. Remember that. There are also volatile organic compounds, ultra-fine particles which can penetrate into the lungs and bloodstream. Other than nicotine, there are still cancer-causing chemicals. They can cause heavy metals such as nickel, tin, plumbum, yeah, to be released from the coils, especially from the coils, or dry dipping. That is even worse. Okay, so it can be inhaled through the vapors. Okay, and when they use flavoring agents such as diacetyl, they can lead to lung diseases like bronchiolitis obliterans, which is permanent destruction of the alveoli, the the part of the lungs where oxygen transfer is done. So what I'm saying is that, again, it is not harmless. Okay, we don't know the whole extent of the harmfulness, but we know it is not harmless. Okay, glycerin itself can cause irritation to the skin, organ damage on prolonged usage. Okay, the flavoring again can attack inner cell of the lung, brains, and skin. So the metals, because of the liquid and the atomizer, so it is again dangerous. Okay, we know smoking increases risk of COVID-19. They have higher expression of receptors for the SARS-CoV-2 to latch on and then gain entry into the bloodstream. It's like you're increasing the number of doors for the virus to open and come into your body. That's why it has been shown that smokers have higher risk of getting COVID-19 and complications of the COVID-19. So this also substantiated or verified by our own country's data, which we actually have published. Okay, and some people again use the reasons of cost, saying that, oh, smoking is cheaper, or vaping is cheaper than quitting because you have to buy your medication. Yes, sometimes you have to buy the medication, but it's an investment for health. And you only treat smokers usually for 3 to 6 months. It's not like using cigarettes or e-cigarettes for years and years. Okay, and the price overall is much, much cheaper as compared to smoking or vaping. Okay, so I think I will stop there and not go to the control strategy, except for just to hide, or maybe I would just skim through and browse some of the strategies very quickly, talking about the WHO Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, as you can see here, in tandem with the Control of Tobacco Product Regulations and the National Strategic Plan, in order to create a smoke-free nation by 2040, whether we can reach or not. If we work together, we can target the end game of less than 5%. Remember, we have more than 20% prevalence of smoking in Malaysia, so we want less than 5% in 2040. Can we reach it? Inshallah, but we have to work for it. Okay, so it has been changed. Previously, we planned for citizen born 2009 onwards, but now with generational endgame, it's 2005 onwards. Okay. Okay, these are the strategies. We empower the community. So I would like to thank the MRC for this initiative, because this is empowering you all. Yeah, you are part of the community. So empowering you all, the community, and encourage multi-sectorial participation for reaching the target of less than 5% prevalence in 2040. Strengthening the law enforcement on tobacco control, we can also play our role. We can report, yeah, we can report if we see people smoking at eateries, yeah, at restaurants or places where food and drinks are served. There's a WhatsApp number I will share later. You can just use the WhatsApp number, and the enforcement people will do the job. You can report that there are so and so places selling vape, shops, this and so. So they hopefully enforcement is done rather than not. Yeah. So the Empower strategies actually from the WHO Framework Convention, where just now I was talking about data, numbers of prevalence. This is from monitoring. Protecting is where government increases places that are forbidden to smoke, gazetted as smoke-free areas. There are at least 23. I mentioned to you about eateries, yeah, all higher institutions, secondary, primary institutions, schools, even tadika, kindergartens, all these places are already gazetted as smoke-free areas. So it is actually a compoundable offense to be smoking in any of the gazetted areas as smoke-free. Okay, smoke-free cities initiative offering help to quit. You can ask in Gambang whether the physicians, the doctors, or nurses, or anybody medical assistants there have they been trained or have the medications to help you quit smoking. Yeah, so you need, some smokers need help. Yeah, to quit successfully, they cannot do it on their own because they are nicotine dependent and they suffer a lot of withdrawal effects when they reduce or quit smoking. So you can try also getting help online. Yeah, because we know the MQuit services is offered. You can use, for example, your WhatsApp. You can take out your phone. Yeah, you can find your My Sejahtera app. For example, when you click My Sejahtera, then you have this first page, right? So you just close this one, and you go to More. Yeah, go to More. You press the icon that says More. You scroll down. You can see additional resources. Yeah. Step 2, find additional resources. Click on that, and then you get smoking and COVID-19. Select smoking and COVID-19. Step 3, click on that, and then you should get Jom Quit page. Yeah. So Jom Quit is the online or app-based service that is convenient. You can register, so you can daftar and get the help to quit smoking. Okay, so please browse through your My Sejahtera app. Okay, so that's how you can help yourself if you're smoking or vaping, and others. Yeah, one of the ways. Okay, so hopefully they are ready to quit. So because we want to raise awareness, improve accessibility to the service, reduce the prevalence. Okay, so warn. We need to continuously warn people about dangers of tobacco, new tobacco products such as e-cigarette tobacco products. We know about the cancer, respiratory. So we put the warning labels on cigarette packs. Similarly, we need to continue on other tobacco products as well. I mentioned about advertising, promotion, sponsorship. Definitely, we cannot allow any sponsorship from tobacco companies, electronic cigarette companies, and whatnot for any activities involving IIUM, yeah, CFS, or maybe in your future undertakings. So be careful. They try to support, they do CSR activities, corporate social responsibility. They used to give scholarships to medical students. Can you imagine that? Yeah. A tobacco company, the product kill people, cause disease, and then they want to do corporate social responsibility by giving scholarships for people studying medicine. Okay. I talk about billboards, display items, and so on and so forth. All these are actually banned in Malaysia, but it has to be enforced. Yeah. Raise tax. I mentioned that the price of cigarette in Malaysia is currently relatively cheap. Definitely cheaper, much cheaper than the ones sold in Singapore, for example. Okay, although it has been known that raising tax is one of the most effective strategies to reduce prevalence of smoking. So we need to keep on telling the government to raise tax. Unfortunately, the government doesn't listen to us, doesn't consider the evidence. Even the local study from UPN group shown that if you increase the excise tax and also the retail price, as seen here from the green and blue line, you can see total cigarette consumption going down. But you need to find that effective taxation structure. So in Malaysia, currently is at 55%. The WHO from the FCTC recommends 65%. So there's still room to increase the price of cigarette. And it has not been tabled in the budget for tax increase on cigarette since 2015. Can you imagine that? That's what has happened in Malaysia. Okay, so I talk about Jongquid. So please browse through and register if you know, if yourself or you know people who are smoking or vaping. Yeah. So with that, I thank you.
Thank you to Dr. Muhammad Haniki bin Muhammad for the talk tonight. I believe that all of us have paid full attention to the important point from Prof. Dr. Muhammad Haniki just now. Thank you so much to all the participants because willing to participate in this talk tonight. As you know that we currently drop the QR or share the QR code at the YouTube. Is it? Yes. Yeah. Correct. Okay. Don't forget to answer the quiz and fill your attendance through the link that have been given just now. Let's end our event with Tasbih Kafarah and Surah Al-Asr.
There a photo session?
Maybe?
Can you switch on your with your camera?
Can we switch on? Yeah.
Anybody else?
Anybody else? I need your cooperation to open your camera. Maybe they have a link problems, maybe. All right. Okay. So now is it 1, 2, 3? All right.
Okay. Please share it with me later.
All right.
Thank you so much. All the best to you all. Thank you for organizing this. MRC Al-Biruni. Inshallah, we'll meet again. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you. See you guys tomorrow for another topic from Akhi Fairuz at night. And Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.